All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Footy and Coffee Conversations. Here with a former teammate of mine. If you want to introduce yourself briefly.
Hi, I'm Jamel Farrell, former player of Sporting Christina. So, hi you guys, welcome to Coffee and Football.
I never call him Jamel Farrell. I
Miss
call him
J,
Miss J.
Miss J.
A legendary nickname.
Yeah. So, question to you: how do you think this pandemic is treating football in Finland as we speak right about now?
I think at first it was like, okay, every team shuts down, no training as a team. But maybe like 2 weeks into it, it started to get more difficult for players. They started to, you were just hitting March 18th, I think, is our last training day. So you were just starting to ramp up, last couple weeks of preseason before season starts. And now, like, the first 2 weeks, you're still kind of in go, go, go mode. But now it seems like a lot of just talking to players in general, not specifically at our team, but just in general. It's hard to train and stay motivated when there's not a set date that games are going to start, or you're ramping up to be 100% ready. Is that in 2 weeks or in a month? Because that is a different way you're going to prepare mentally, I think.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with you on that. Uh, Also, what do you think of virtually speaking to your players and doing tactics over the internet or via social media and stuff? What do you think about that approach, opposed to being on the field and doing your set plays from there?
Yeah, it's not ideal at all to have to do everything. It's like you go and write something on a board for players and you say everyone's got it and they're all shaking their head. Yeah, yeah, we understand, we understand. You get out and try to run the drill for the first time and it's like everyone's a space cadet. So I think you can get some accomplished online, but
Yeah,
there's nothing that competes with actually being on the field and like physically acting it out as well as mentally learning whatever it is you're trying to teach at that moment. So I think something that'll be interesting this year is because there's not going to be the same preseason as usual. Teams that are maybe have been together longer have an advantage because there's less new things to implement and they kind of already know what they're trying to do as a team. Whereas other teams, if you think it takes 2-3 games to kind of get a new system under your belt, well, now two,
yeah,
3 games, if we don't have a full season, is really going to impact the number of games left to actually, do that system.
yeah, absolutely. Especially if the seasons are cut in half, especially in Scandinavia. I think they cut in all the seasons in half, so it's a do or die because most of the games are home and away, so it's do or die. Every game is like a final because no one wants to slip up and say, "Oh, I'll get that team next round." It doesn't have a next round, so um, is I think is how you prepare your players mentally also to say every game is a do or die to get you know a bit of consistency in the season. So yeah,
Yeah, I'm
it'll
also
be interesting.
interested to see with bigger games how they decide which team gets the home game because obviously like
Right?
that financially is another thing. Like teams are already hurting financially, and now if you're not getting a big derby that you're used to getting and that
Yeah.
type of money coming in, that's a significant loss of money as well.
Right. Yeah. Makes sense. It's, I mean, that's not only for the Scandinavian League. We would see how UEFA is doing, teams around the world. I think a league is a league somewhere far east, not too far east, Eastern Europe is open still, I think, in Belarus. So they are playing games without any
Yeah,
viruses. So I mean, it's been tense for all the footballers. It's frustrating because it's like a yoga for us as well too. So
yeah.
it'll be interesting to see what plays out next month or next few months if it even has a season.
Yeah, what are you hearing from your club in Sweden?
I think the season may start June 23rd. Like I said, the season have been cut in half, so they just we probably have to focus on each game, not the whole season. Each game has to be won, like concentration from the first minute to the last minute. So I think it's about getting players ready mentally to go through that battle. It's either do or die, and don't take your foot off the pedal. And I think we should see what happens at the end of the season, which will be a short, quick boost sprint season. So it's
Yeah,
going to be crazy. It's going to
are
be
they
crazy.
are they talking promotion relegation still for you guys?
That's interesting. I haven't got information about that as yet. So when I speak to coach, I would see what he says. Maybe they're just gonna run it and then keep leagues as is, and then probably if this pandemic kind of flatten the curve next year, they'll probably talk promotion, relegation. But it's gonna
Because
be interesting to see.
that's the thing. Like, if you just play half a season and you don't get a home and away, teams that get relegated are going to be complaining about that.
Hmm.
If you don't do promotion relegation, though, teams are going to cut contracts of higher paying
Right.
players because why pay them if there's no chance for promotion? You know.
Exactly. So
So
it'll be very interesting what because each country has a different FA and they go about the football system and differently. So I haven't gotten any updates about the system there in Sweden. So it'll be very good to know if they're really doing relegation promotion. If not, and they decide to do half season, I think honestly they shouldn't do promotion or relegation since it wouldn't be fair. Let's say I'm playing a team that is way better than me home or away, or at least away. And they got more fan base, etc., etc. They got money coming in, and we don't have, you know. So
mhm.
it's a double-edged sword. It's a
Yeah,
double-edged sword.
absolutely. I'm in Finland. I don't know how it is in Sweden right now with finances, but a lot of teams in Finland have uh, cut contracts with most of their coaches, or at least reduce salaries by 50%, as well as a lot of players in the last week or two have started to have their salaries greatly decreased. Um, I think that's another area that's not maybe talked about so much, but there's a lot of money being lost. A lot of teams have spent a lot on paying players without having games and stuff. And I think what people may not realize is big clubs, your Manchester United or something, they have big TV deals and they make a lot of money through that. But a lot of
Right,
professional clubs make their money through sponsorship of home games, and companies
right,
sponsor that because that's where the fans come. So if you have a season, but they have rules of no crowds over 500 or whatever it is, well, now the main way that you make money is the game's sponsors aren't going to sponsor the game, because why sponsor it if there's no fans? You're not getting ticket sales, you're not getting food and drink sales. So now you're still having to pay the same salary for these players, but you have very little of the same money coming in. And I don't know how clubs can sustain that either for very long.
yeah. I mean, it's a slippery slope because I mean, football is a business. Whatever level you look at it, it's a business as well. And I think some of the clubs may probably ask for a stimulus package. I think just to get back up and rolling. Some clubs don't have the ability to do that either, so they probably just have to declare bankruptcy and crash the club and replan for another year or something. Because, as you rightfully said, what about the clubs only has two sponsors and depends on, let's say, 500 people to run their club, or to have three foreign players come in and you pay them out of that? Then there's no income coming in. So how do you even get these players to kind of prop the team up as well? So
Mm-hmm.
it's a hard decision to make as well. In terms of, I think some players are, because of the love of the game, some players are just saying, you know what, let me play half season for free because I know it's a living for them as well, but also they're looking at it for the longer run, especially if the relationship they had with the club. If it's just a business, transaction, then they'll be like, all right, okay, no salary. Okay, well, I don't play. I look for a better team next season. But it depends on the players' relationship with the club and the board as well. It's hey, I could do the rest of the season if we come to certain terms, and we could go forward with that. So that's in big clubs and small clubs also. So like I said, it would be very, very interesting coming up to, because we're coming up to June, July transfer season. We would see what value, who decreases and what value. Very,
Yeah.
very interesting.
Yeah, I'm also curious to see. I think there might be some clubs that aren't necessarily better at football, but they're just better financially with their money, and they're going to get promoted and move up the rankings because these teams at the top, a couple of them, I guarantee, are going to drop and have to restart in the low divisions. So that'll be
Right.
an interesting thing as well.
That would be interesting. Like it's like moving puzzle pieces. Yeah, you're financially strong, so you get all the players, but if your players drop and we have certain local players that can match your, then what? You know?
Yeah,
So you would see how the board and the presidents restructuring not only for now, but for the next 3 to 4 years of this, because you never know when this could happen again. So
yeah, absolutely. That's the thing, is this could easily happen a couple years down the road and be another issue, the same that we're experiencing now. Have you had much contact with your club during this time, or have you guys been getting workouts at all, or what's kind of been? They're still training, right?
yeah, they're still training. They're still training probably 3 times a week. The guys are together still. Um, uh, there's a rule in place where if you're feeling sick or you're feeling like if you have the virus, I mean, there's no social distancing
Yeah,
there. Obviously, it made the news. So if you're feeling sick, I think you're allowed to miss a training. I think he implemented that, but they're training as usual. And I also spoke to a friend in Vecqua. They're supposed to kick off their season May the 9th, but he said they would see about that as well because he doesn't know what's happening, but they're still training. Everyone's still training in Sweden, I think. But
I
yeah, I'm
think
in contact.
the thing I'm worrying about is, okay, so they start seasons back up. Um, you have one player test positive. Now every player on that team has to be in quarantine for 2 weeks. So does that mean that the games that are played in those 2 weeks that they're in quarantine, are they just forfeited? Because if you've already shortened the season, how are you going to make those up? And so I can just see there's like
Yeah,
domino after domino that can lead to issues this year that are going to be difficult to resolve.
yeah. I mean, that's if they. I mean, I don't know if the government would just stop testing after they just reopen everything, or I don't know how it will go because I mean, for you to start a game and just stop the game in the middle of the probably in the 35th minute and say, oh, I saw one guy coughing, let me test him. And everyone has to go. I don't know how they would actually do that. Or even if they may have to just play close, like with no fans, even,
Yeah.
because of the social distancing thing. That is one aspect I've been thinking as well too. So I don't know. That's a good question. How they gonna
Something I was thinking of is, obviously we shake hands before and after the game with the opposing team.
mm,
Obviously, for this season, they're not going to do that because, why risk the chance of spreading it through that type of thing? But what I wonder is if that's kind of something that's a thing of the past now. Like, are they ever going to move back to shaking hands and things like that on the field? Because now they're talking, long term of this being around in the fall, this being a seasonal thing, possibly. And I feel like, they're saying things are changing. Social distancing might become the norm in our society more so. So I wonder if, things like the handshakes are just going to be given the big X.
I mean, could be possible. You could just probably do a nod or whatnot. But what I'm saying is that why would you rule out a handshake where the game is a contact sport? I could be all up under you with sweat and shielding off the ball. So it's a contact sport either or. So I don't think shaking hands would be like, would be a big deal because it is a contact sport. It's not like if it's tennis or something, you're on the other side of the net or something like that. It's a contact sport, so it's I don't know. It's very complicated. It will be very very interesting to see what FIFA says about this, like shaking hands and stuff whatnot.
Because I'm thinking if one player has corona and you go to a corner kick, the distance that the breathing can spread it, every single
Yeah,
player is in the box getting it. So at that point, you've just given it to both teams in a matter of one corner kick.
exactly as well. Especially if you gotta get a guy off your goalkeeper who's trying to, you know, trying to like, how you stand in front of the goalkeeper and you try to throw him off and he's there, he probably gonna cough and say, you know.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting to see, especially with the contact sport, not just football, basketball, and other loads of contact sports.
Yeah, absolutely. Now I want to know for you as a player in this time, because obviously coaching is completely different. But I think as a player, it's so different. As players, you don't get this type of break from the team ever for this long and from training. What is kind of your mental approach to it? Has it been difficult to, just have to do things at home in your yard by yourself, or has it been pretty easy to stay motivated?
Um, Sometimes it's hard, sometimes it's easy because I look at it for the long run. It's frustrating, obviously. Football is life, and I miss playing it every day against um, teams and training with my teammates and everything. Um, Staying motivated is the hard part of it because you don't know how it's going to swing. That's if it's going to have a season or even you're going to play friendly games. So, training, sometimes I kind of like, sometimes I just relapse and be like, you know what? I'm training, but I don't want to overtrain to peak too quick in the fitness because if let's say season starts in a couple of weeks and you're overrun, then that would be no good for you because you have to conserve that energy because it's only half a season
Hmm.
and each game counts with full energy. It's not like you have a long season where we could train together and have mini breaks in between. It's just going to be whoever finishes first to the sprint wins.
It's a
So
Usain Bolt 100-meter dash right here.
exactly. So the preparation is here and there sometimes, but like getting closer to the dates, then I have to mentally realize that listen, I need to prepare for this and prepare for the sprint and conserve, don't overtrain and keep doing stuff.
What I also worry about for players is, they're talking, okay, you can start training this set date, and a lot of the things I've heard is maybe 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks of preseason
Mm,
before games start. And I just think the risk of injury is going to go crazy because
yeah,
you're not giving players enough time to get back into game shape. And then on top of that, if you're condensing the season, the games are coming quicker than normal. And so the recovery is not going to be there, as well as not being in the correct shape. And I just think, especially like hamstring injuries are just going to explode this season with
yeah,
how they're talking about doing the season.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And to add to that as well, because mentally footballers have been everyone has been concentrated. We have to express ourselves, and that has been suppressed. So picture picture a kid, you look candy away from a kid, and you just say, "Oh, after a whole while, you're gonna go crazy," So the first game, everyone's gonna be energetic, but not everyone's gonna be fit,
Yeah.
And as you said, hamstring's gonna go, hip flexor's gonna go, major running muscles is gonna go, and everyone will be in a rush to do things so quickly because they only have a short season and they need to get stuff completed as well. That is why I said I don't think they should put pressure, meaning, okay, you're going to be demoted or promoted. So at least you would save a lot of injuries as well to the next season. Because mentally, that pressure is there. Oh, I got 15 games to get promoted. Oh, I can't lose so much amount of games to be
Yeah.
demoted. A lot of pressure as well on the footballers, even if you're not on contract, meaning if you're on contract So it'll be very interesting.
Yeah, it's such a strange time. I mean, there's not like one perfect answer to it. So
Exactly.
it'll be interesting. And then, they talk about for some of the leagues continuing and trying to finish, like the Premier League and all. And it's like, well, you do that, you're having the guys finish their season and then immediately start their next season.
Oh, no.
And that just seems like a recipe for disaster as well.
Injuries. Just loads of injuries, especially to their good players. I mean, the clubs with the money, they have extra artillery. They could probably house 3 teams to do that. What are the teams at the bottom of the table? Who depends, as like again, on the fans and certain sponsors to fund their club. And most of these sponsors are going bankrupt because they bleed in cash as well.
Yeah.
You
Yeah, a
know,
lot of those
so
companies are losing money right now themselves. So how do you then have any money to sponsor football when you can't even pay your employees?
exactly. So it will be interesting to see who keeps their sponsors and who doesn't. Because I mean, these companies look at it as that, why should I sponsor a football club or part of a football club if my business is not even doing well? I'm not gonna fork out of my personal finance to do, a football club. So it'll be very interesting to see. The next 3 months will be very, very interesting. I'm just waiting to see. Oh, I'm prepared mentally as well and physically, but I'm just wanted to see where this pendulum would swing, if it even swings, or if the whole pendulum mashes up.
Yeah, I've talked to some people that, give me these answers of like guarantee like a couple weeks, like we'll be back to playing this, that, and everything. And it's like maybe we will be, but I just think there's so many unknowns with this that no one can confidently say what the season will look like, what it'll be like, how the FAs will decide to operate. This is an unprecedented experience in football. So how does anyone have confidence of how it's going to run? You know?
Yeah, because a lot of people could say one thing, but they're not in control of, one, the virus, two, what the government decides, and three, just the whole world population, because everyone's doing things differently. Like I said, Sweden, hardly any social distancing. People living their life normal. Next thing, let's say the world goes back to normal and Sweden is in a lockdown, and it's the total reverse. So
Yeah.
it'll be very interesting to see what plays over the next 2 months. But hopefully, we could get back starting to play next month. That's all the hope and all the footballers, man. I need to, you know, play next month or something,
Yeah, I
because
think that's the
all this
ideal.
energy is backed up. All the energy is backed up for not expressing yourself as a footballer, like an artist or anything else. It's the energies, you could feel it as well.
I
So
have
also have to be careful.
I have a challenge I want every team to compete in. There's been all these challenges on TikTok or Instagram or whatever. I have one
Yeah.
called the first rondo challenge. And the first time back as a team, you have to film
Wow.
and post your rondo and how bad it is.
That would be interesting. That would be interesting.
Because everyone posts their 35, 50 passes in a row when they're just pinging it all sharp on the ground and everything. But there's no chance that first day when guys haven't passed with another person in 2 months that they're pinging it like that.
Nah, I think unless you're very, very technical and you know your ability, but you may overpower some. I think most of them will overcook there because it's built up so long. They will overcook that ball. Most
just,
players,
just stitching each other.
yeah, just overpower. I think for the first couple of weeks, they're gonna have a lot of lost balls all over. Trust
You
me.
got
The
they're
equipment,
gonna have
the
those.
equipment manager.
They're gonna have to add 10 meters of net above the goals.
Yeah, exactly. To get rid of that built up energy of, social distancing and the lockdown.
Yeah.
So,
Have you been in much contact with your teammates? Are you guys doing anything like Zoom online workouts or anything?
nah, most of them are just living, eating, because I think they had a break right after the news that they need to stop training for a bit. So they just have been doing their stuff. So I think they're back in training for 2 weeks. But other than that, nah, we just send in Snapchat messages, and I think they under a good regime. So they probably, like I said, they train 3 times a week, and that's all I see. But obviously, coach trusts me to do my own thing as well too. So yeah, I have been in contact with most of them, mostly all
Yeah.
of them.
How's the traveling over to Sweden looking? Looking like you can still show up on the date of your ticket?
Yeah, like I said, my ticket, British Airways changed it. I've got it until next year. So even if they cancel the flight from here, I still got a free ticket to rebook anytime. So I could always travel across there, even if it's one game I miss or something. So yeah, but once the borders are reopened, yeah, I'm hitting that jet plane. So
You have your mask picked out with your club logo for the flight over?
I need to talk to the president about that, Mr. Coleman himself.
Dude, that's what I said, man. I was like, our club needs to give me one of the masks of Sporting Christina over it. I'll rock that to the grocery store.
Yeah, easily. Yeah, it should be good. I mean, I've got my personal mask, and mind you, I've got that mask since carnival time here, and I never changed it. So I'm just using that to go to like shopping and everything else. But I don't really use it when I go for jogging as well. It's pointless.
Are
It's
many
pointless.
people nervous in Trinidad, or how's kind of the overall people's reaction down there to it?
Oh, yeah. It's panic land down here. It's like everyone is just panicking and worried, and just most of them being negative to a point. You'll find the ones who just really don't care about if there's a virus or not. They're saying it's a hoax, and they're just going about living life. And yeah, you'll get those ones, but most of the population is more concerned about it as well. But yeah, it's more like everywhere else in the world, a panic. So we'll see if they cool. They extended it till the 10th of May, so you can't really be out your house unless you're going for a light jog. You can't be in groups of 5, etc., etc., etc. So, standard.
Yeah, they're talking about here, possibly maybe like next week, week after opening schools back up. But I think there's only a couple more weeks of school left anyways until summer break. So then
Yeah,
it almost seems like why risk bringing everyone in for school for 2 weeks, if it's already going to be done in 2 weeks anyways.
yeah,
I don't know. I'm not an expert on that.
yeah. Also, what would be interesting is that, well, I don't know for in Finland, I can't remember for in Finland. Well, in Sweden, July is travel month
Hmm.
for everyone. That would be interesting if borders reopen, where everyone is going to go
I think
for that
people
month.
stay in their country more.
Yeah, and just hit the coastline or just hit
Yeah, or
cabins.
go camping somewhere.
Yeah, but I think people would move around a lot in for the summer holidays in July, August. I think so. I don't know. It's
Yeah, it'll be
interesting to see. It
interesting.
has you. Yeah.
I think
So
Sweden
yeah,
Sweden will travel like normal.
yeah. That's a different country. They just passive and easy about everything. You know that.
No, I think it's funny because the rest of like the Nordic countries are all sitting here like, what is Sweden doing?
They're
They're
not
just kind of,
following the rules.
yeah, because you think like I feel like in most, like 95% of things, the Nordic countries all kind of fall in line together of like
Right.
what's acceptable or what the law is. Obviously things differ some, but they all seem to be generally the same. And then on this
Yeah.
one, like they all went here and Sweden was like, nope, we're going this way. Like keep living like nothing's happening.
Yeah. Yeah. That was interesting to see. And I looked at the update yesterday for Sweden. Everything's going back to normal. They haven't changed anything. Yeah, the World Committee probably put some pressure on them, and they'll be like, they was like, okay, well then we'll just close our borders, but we just let our people roam free. Different country. because
Yeah.
it's so massive. People could afford to social distance by 50 kilometers.
Oh yeah, there's so much forest up there to go in.
And then you could go pick mushrooms, and that's the vaccine.
You were talking about Belarus still playing football. Did you hear what their president said was the cure to coronavirus?
No, what he said?
He told his people to go out on their tractors. So that was the cure to corona.
Crazy guy.
So apparently if you get sick, just jump on your tractor and you'll be all right.
This will, I don't know. I don't know what to say again. It's interesting to see how everyone has a different approach to, you know. I think even Trump
Mm-hmm.
said they're probably gonna try to open up the economy middle of May or end of May or something. That's like, oh, that's interesting.
It's
Because
getting real political in the US with it, because you have people either wanting the economy to open, obviously, because they're not working. They're like, we need to provide for our families. Then you have other people that are like, well, you're going to risk, other people's lives by opening it. And then you have other
yeah,
people that maybe aren't even concerned about the economy, but they're just like, this is America. You can't put restrictions on me. I'm free to do what I want. And so it's really interesting to see kind of three different approaches to it, all with their own belief system, kind of fighting for
right.
what they want. So I don't know, but I see the protests on TV and on. It's not looking
Right.
like it's a happy place right now.
I mean, because if you look at, we humans don't like to be, well, we're not supposed to be caged so long. So if you risk a further lockdown for more, you have a lot of uprising and you have a lot of businesses going totally out. So also that could be for a Great Depression. And with a Great Depression, there's a revolution. And you don't want that around the world right about now. So even if you open up too soon as well, even it could also have a second wave. But you have to pick your poison. You rather, okay, you open back up, you have some economy kind of rebuilding, and then you have a second wave. Which one is more, which one is a less painful death? you know?
I think honestly, in my personal opinion, I think the worst thing out of anything would be open up, have like 2-3 weeks of starting to move back to normal, it spike with the number of cases and have to go right back into lockdown, because I think that would be just like mentally the hardest thing to go through. If you're already in lockdown and they add 2 more weeks,
Yeah.
it's not such a big difference. But if you start to taste freedom and then have it taken away again and you're back to lockdown, I think that's where people are going to be like, I can't do this.
Yeah. But not only that as well too. I mean, let's say they keep extending it, and all that pressure is built up, and then they kind of say, okay, all right, it's cool, it's gone now, and then some months into it, it still comes back up. Then what? Then what? So we don't know. We just have to see and prepare
Yeah, we're going to get
for
5 games into the season. It's going to come back in the fall, and then they're going to shut down the season again. And we're going to have, 5 games played and cancel the rest of the season or something. And then I don't know what you do at that point, because now teams
I
have
mean,
just lost so much.
bro, you go up north in the Arctic Circle and just play with reindeers until the whole world sorts out itself. You know?
Take a
So
trip up to Lapland.
yeah, and just be away from everyone, and then you'll be fine. But yeah, I think that's moving forward. We would see how it is. So yeah,
Yeah,
all
it'll
good.
be it'll be interesting. It's unknown. It's interesting to talk about, just because there's so many different routes that it can go from here.
Yeah, I just hope everyone comes back to normal, what their version of normal, and I hope the world fix itself.
100%.
So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, man. I feel that's
I,
it for the podcast.
I
Chop it up.
appreciate you giving your advice, your insights into coronavirus and the effects on it's having on football around the world right now.
Say that again?
I said I appreciate you coming on and sharing your insights and thoughts on how coronavirus is affecting the football world and kind of the more long-term effects it might have on the football community as a whole.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. I was I always think forward as well, not just for now. What about how will it affect the kids, certain clubs, because it's a world culture. Just like the government, football has a government also too. So you have to be concerned not just at this moment. It's like, would it change the structure of the sport next 5 years? Or the way how sponsors sponsor football teams 5 years, because they're probably saying, oh, let's invest in this club, and next thing a pandemic come and we start bleeding money again and blah blah blah. And you always have
Yeah,
to think down the road, but not too far down the road so that you become overwhelmed. But I hope everything irons out, even off. So yeah, it's always good,
hope
man.
so. All right,
Yeah,
thank you, man. Appreciate it.
yeah, safe.